when people ask, well, what is it that you do? And, you know, people were always wanting an elevator.
Right. What's your elevator pitch?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, you know, I always
give me your soundbite.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we tend to and care for individuals navigating the complexities of living with ALS. Right?
Beautiful.
And then sometimes I'll even put living
and dying with
ALS. And that's, again, it gets back
it's
to that dying
taboo
piece.
Word. Oh, we don't want to admit that people die. We're all going to die. And ALS, man, that's just such a big... I couldn't have... So I've written about fatal, incurable neurodegenerative diseases before. But dying didn't have to take center stage with those stories. Because with Alzheimer's or Huntington's, it can be 20 years after diagnosis that you have to deal with dying. But with ALS, it's this unavoidable star of the show in so many ways. Like this, you can't not talk about dying when you're dealing with ALS. And so I think it needs to be in your elevator pitch. It's part of the deal.
And that's the most difficult conversation for
absolutely
our
culture,
healthcare system,
yeah,
our doctors, our culture to have.
Yes. Well, physicians aren't trained to even think about mortality, except that it's a failure. It's you've lost the battle if someone dies and you're a doctor. So that's how they're trained. They're not trained to deal in, well, what happens when death is inevitable? How do I tend to and care for my patients in that respect?
Last week I was visiting with a woman, and she was sharing with me the bad experience she had at receiving the diagnosis from her doctor.
Okay.
And they were really upset, the family. And I went, you know, I've learned not to judge this doctor or any doctor.
Yeah.
Because it honestly, in my opinion, gets back to that point I was making earlier, is this doctor willing to become familiar with his own mortality? And when I hear stories like that, what it says to me is that doctor is very afraid of his own dying. If you're afraid of your own, how can you have that conversation?
Right.
If you're not willing,
or unfamiliar with anyone's dying.
Unfamiliar terrain.
That part gets, you know, the nurses might deal with the death, or at that point when someone's dying, the doctor has, quote, failed. So, yeah.
But even the simple questions where people can sit, and I share this with people in hospice, well, how would you like to die?
I know.
You know, I mean, really, if we can think about it, how would you like to die? What would that look like for you?
Right, and so many are afraid to speak those words, because then it's admitting that there will be a death.
Exactly.
Hospice are really good at talking this conversation, I've found.
Not always.
Not always. Okay.
That's my problem.
Yeah.
Alrighty?
Okay.
And it's not my problem, but that's where I like
There's
to go
work
and
to be
educate.
done,
There's work to be done.
Yeah.
And there's some wonderful hospices. It's all, you know what? It's all who's walking in the door.
Yeah.
And what are you bringing?
It's like everything,
you know?
right?
It's no different than me spending time with people talking about the virtues of hospice, and someone comes in and they completely scare them.
Yeah.
Again, it's the art of language.
It's the person, yeah.
So there's much, much work to be done there.